It's Thursday, August 11th, 2011. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Play Dead.
Let's do this. Hey, Rim, I am not a lawyer. Did you know that?
You know what? I'm also not a lawyer. Nothing ever said on Geeknights should be construed to be legal advice of any kind.
Hey, Rim, do you want to give me some non-legal advice?
Perhaps.
I want to read some law to you.
Uh-oh.
This is from the back of my lease renewal.
Oh, no. I love how my lease renewal it says you cannot sublet and an asterisk, and then there's a separate thing included by the city that is like, regardless of what your lease says, you can sublet.
According to these restrictions.
Yep.
Whatever. Anyway, if the owner offers a renewal lease less than 90 days prior to the expiration of the existing lease, the lease term selected by the tenant shall begin at the tenant's option either 1. On the date a renewal lease would have begun had a timely offer been made, or 2, on the first rent payment date occurring no less than 90 days after the date that the owner does offer the lease to the tenant. So this lease was offered, the date it says dated July 26, 2011.
Uh-huh.
My rents are due on the 1st of the month. Therefore, 90 days from that is like October 10th-ish, something like that. Meaning that if I chose option 2, on the first rent payment date occurring no less than 90 days after the date the owner does offer the lease to the tenant. So the lease expires September 30th, 2011, which means the first rent payment date occurring no less than 90 days after the owner does offer the lease to the tenant would be November 1st and not October 1st. The guidelines rate applicable for such a lease shall be no greater than the rate in effect on the commencement date of the lease for which a timely offer should have been made, and the increased rental shall not begin before the first rent payment date occurring no less than 90 days after such offer is made.
So I feel like you could get away with having one more month of the previous rent.
That is my reading as well. My rent is going to go up by $57.52 per month if I choose a 1-year extension, which means I think I should be paying the old lower rent in the month of October and not have to pay the extra $57 until the month of November.
I would, however, run that by a lawyer.
So I got to call a lawyer for $57. It's going to cost me more than $57 to talk to a lawyer.
The real problem here is that there's so much weird legality around rents and leases, partly because tenants get fucked if they're not well-regulated on one side, and landlords get fucked if they're not well-regulated on the other side.
Yep.
And I don't think there is a middle ground that is good for everybody.
Well, I think I'm going to call the State of New York Division of Housing and something here, or the rent. There's like a rent panel or something. So yeah, you may file a complaint with the DHCR if you have.
I hope my rent doesn't go up that much. It only went up like $20 last time.
I'm at 57. But anyway, I'm gonna call up that because I called because there's I have a new management company and I couldn't find their phone number. I found out they're actually 2 management companies with different names, but they're the same company. So I was able to find the other company, call him up. I found the right guy. I talked to him. He seemed like a nice enough guy, but when I confronted him with this question, he was like,
Yeah, mine is like all business. Like it's like a call center. It gets outsourced.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
But then I also asked him, he was like, is there anything wrong with the building? He was trying to be nice. And I was like, no, the building's good. And, and he's chatting.
Should have been like, except when my apartment got robbed.
Well, no, but then I was like, wait a minute. There is one thing. Can I get some fucking FiOS up in this shit? Right? And he's like, call Verizon, and then if they need something from me, call me. So I'm going to call him and do it.
Yeah.
Why not? Doesn't hurt.
It's sad that you have to come over here and ration your BitTorrents if they're big enough.
The uploading is the main thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt to fucking call. So I'm gonna. But I'm also going to call someone about my, I'm not going to get a lawyer for $57. If I need to fight to get $57, it costs money to fight.
See, that's why I wouldn't go for it.
Going to small claims court is $50 already, right?
Yep,
so
that's why I wouldn't go for it, because
but if I can do it for free,
even if you're right and you do it for free, they'll probably fight because economy of scale.
If they want to fight, let them fight. That's fine by me.
But then you'll have to fight back.
It won't cost me anything to fight back.
Yeah, well, you know what they'll do?
I'm just showing up and filling out papers.
No. So here's what would happen. Here's my expectation if they wanted to fight.
So for $57 and 52 cents.
So how do you go about paying the lower rent? You just pay the lower rent?
Well, I would first of all, hopefully, I would call someone else, and then they would send me
They won't.
a rent statement
They
for the
won't.
lower amount.
They won't do that.
So I'll send them a check in October that is $57.52 under.
And you know what I would do
they're
if I was the
asking for.
landlord?
Yep.
I just wouldn't say anything. Your next rent bill would say current rent due X, past due from previous rent Y, and I would just bill you for it.
I would just keep paying the whatever I was owed properly.
I would keep accruing interest on that and eventually send a collections agency after you.
I would go into
Then you're going to have to fight and pay money. You're going to do that? You're going to pay the $57
for $57.
Now plus interest. Also,
It's bullshit.
they would have ammo if they wanted to kick you out.
I would, but the thing is, I would be take care of it before it got to the collections agency.
But
part.
they probably wouldn't say anything, or maybe they'd call you one day and be like, "You owe us $4,000."
I'd be like, "Fuck no, I don't."
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know.
I'm just gonna see if I can call someone and get it sorted out for free.
Here's the trouble.
And then
they don't know if they're obligated to do this or not, and you don't know.
I'm gonna call someone
you
and find
both-
out.
but when
and
two
then
peo-
I will. If
Who
I
are you gonna call? The city's not gonna tell you. The city
I can call
hotlines.
311.
Those city hotlines, Scott, are not allowed to give you legal advice.
No, but I can call the Division of Housing and whatever.
Yeah, and I've called places like
Office
that
of
before.
Rent Administration.
Because Emily's her old landlord, which was also our old landlord, never gave her security deposit back, and she actually had no at least we put a hole in the ceiling and we left some messes behind, so I don't feel that bad. But
Even though he said that's fine.
yeah, but they were kind of
we just never asked for it.
Yeah, we didn't. I didn't want to fight too hard, just a pain in the ass. But Emily's fighting, and it's really hard to learn what the law really is without a lawyer, because any city agency you call will be like, we can't give you advice, so click.
That's bullshit. The city should. It's like I'm asking the government for what the law is. They should have to fucking tell
Scott,
me.
I got an assessment of the property lines of that house I was going to buy in Beacon.
Mm-hmm.
You realize any question I asked anyone was responded to with, "We cannot give you advice on this." And I was like, so what? Is this a form I should fill out to get an assessment? It says assessment form. Is this the form? They're like, "We can't give you advice." I'm like, so I'm going to fill this form out and I'm going to give you a check because it says you need $100. Will an assessment form come out of you after I do this? And they wouldn't tell me.
It's they should have to tell you.
I know they
There's a
should.
difference between giving legal advice, right? Obviously, this isn't what it is, right? But legal advice should be like, okay, look, I have a business. Some guy did something. Should I sue him or not? Is it a good idea, right?
Well, Scott, but
Could I sue him for this? Could I sue him for that?
Here's a real world
I was
example.
accused of a crime. Should I plead guilty? Should I settle? What should I do? I don't know what to do.
Here's an example
Legal
you run
advice shouldn't
into,
be,
Scott.
What is the law?
Every time you get a new job, what do? You fill out your W-9s,
Yep.
W-4s,
Yep.
or I-9, W-4. Anyway, so the W-4, every HR person I've ever talked to, which interestingly has always been a lady in my entire life,
Yes.
has said,
No, wait. No, not true.
I've never had a non-female HR person.
I did.
But they will always say, all right, especially to young people, this is the form where you pick how many exemptions you have. I can't give you any advice. And it even says on the form they can't give you any advice. And then they always pause and say, you pretty much want to write either 0 or 1 unless you know why you need to write a different number.
Yep.
I feel like that should be okay to say.
Yeah.
I don't
You
think it is
shouldn't-
actually okay to say, though.
But it's like it's like you're reading the form and you see what the form, like I looked at with this paper. I have a lease here. I read what it says. In plain English, that tells me I do not owe them that $57.52. But then I asked someone, I just read this, and that's what I think it says, and I'm it almost 100% clearly says that. Does it indeed say that? You need to get a lawyer. It's like, what the fuck? Just tell me. You wrote the form. You can tell me what that means.
I will, however, look into this because my lease renewal came 3 weeks before we had to renew last time.
Whoa.
And I'm kind of thinking about moving.
All
Really, really
What's
vaguely.
wrong with this building?
This building's okay, but I got a lot of money. I mean, when we moved in here, I made way less money than I do now.
So you gotta move into an even fancier building? Is that just it?
Actually, what I would do
You
is
just want to
move-
be fancier?
I would move into a similarly fancy building. I basically want the same apartment, just in a nicer neighborhood. Like, literally, I want to go 2 to 3 stops closer to Manhattan on the 7. Or a little more north toward Astoria near you.
You can cut. There's some fancy building across the street from
There
me.
are. But Vernon Jackson is, like, really nice.
Anyway, I'm going to call up this other place here.
So, we talk a lot about trolls and hacking and all that stuff. And usually when someone trolls someone, it's on the internet. Usually when they hack something, it's on the internet. But occasionally you have the person who hacks a physical thing, hacks a person, trolls a person in real life. All 3 of these things came together in Germany. I can't believe I never thought of this, though there is precedent in The Simpsons for this very thing happening. So, some people...
Maybe that's where they got the idea.
...made a t-shirt. The t-shirt, quote, the board design of a skull and right-wing flags with the words hardcore rebels. This was aimed at like neo-Nazi skinhead dickwads.
So they gave them all free t-shirts that they would like.
Yep. You go to like a skinhead concert, you're like, check out this skinhead t-shirt. Totally free. Turns out, when they get wet or you wash them, all that design disappears, and now it's an anti-racism t-shirt.
Nice.
I think that's pretty great.
Let's give out free t-shirts to fanboys at anime cons that have perverted moe girls on it. And then
no.
When
So,
you watch,
wait.
they'll never wash them. So basically in the heat as opposed to in the water because they're never going to touch water.
Wait, now, what do you want it to turn into? Because I think
I'm a perverted fanboy. Don't come near me.
No. Yeah, I would simply have it turn into the Forever Alone face.
That's just insane.
They mean the same thing.
I
don't know. I love stuff like this. I mean, I love
Or it
pranks.
could start out as like a cute little girl, and then when it gets hot, it turns into porn, and you go to jail.
Scott, you know what would scare those guys the
Trap.
most? If it's a cute little girl, it turns into a sexy adult girl.
Oh.
I love pranks. I love hacking things. I love hacking people. I love messing with people. I love trolling. So, this is pretty much a perfect storm, and I really want to
Is this a news? It sounds like a thing of the day to me.
It's a news, because I feel like we need to use this to greater effect. Who could we target that would have the most impact?
Who do we like the least?
I kind of want
But the thing is, it's like, okay, we could give them to corrupt politicians, but they don't want free t-shirts.
They don't wear t-shirts.
Right, it has to be someone we don't like that
Tea Party.
also likes free t-shirts and will wear them.
Tea Party.
Are they going to wear the free t-shirt you give them immediately?
The only trouble with the tea parties you're going to have to get from your sizes are pretty much from XL up.
Let's just give them to religious people.
Oh, that's the way to do it. Because, when I talk about pranks, my favorite kind of prank is the subtle prank.
Or we can give them to like Randy type people. Like it's like a pro fake medicine shirt, and then it's suddenly like science is king.
Now you just give them
sciencebasedmedicine.org.
You just give them homeopathic shirts. So, all right, you make
here's one, Rim.
So say
you're wearing it.
I am indeed. Scott Johnson has a non-homeopathic sweater. So let's say you want to get religious people. You have like a really religiously, like nice, like Jesus doing something shirt, and
hanging on a cross.
You make it
cross turns into a
change
dick
very subtly when it's washed
to make them believe that it's something magical happened.
Stigmata appear.
Oh
yeah. Anyway, I thought this was...
if you could develop an even better science to where multiple washings causes more changes.
Oh, it's like a gobstopper.
Like it's perfectly like synced up like chemically, so that like one wash this happens, second wash something else happens, third wash something else happens.
If we had better technology, you'd pull a Batman where the shirt is fine until a particular gas is in the room, and then oh shit.
Oh, so
because then you get everyone at once changes. I don't know. I feel
you give out the shirts in winter, but then the shirts have to get hot before they change.
Yeah. I feel like I want to figure out exactly how they did it, see if it works. I got to figure out
I think they just did a one-time thing where they basically had a dissolving pigment on the shirt.
Yeah,
so
but I want to figure out...
you could just silk screen it with something that dissolves in water, and then when you wash it, it goes away.
I want to figure out how to do this, if it can be made better, and then I want to come up with a really good way to use this. Because I really don't like Illinois Nazis.
No, really. So... London riots. I don't want to talk about the London riots themselves, but I do want to talk about this article on the NBC World blog.
I am going to make a prediction. This article is grossly uninformed, and you're mad about that.
No, not at all.
Really?
Actually, this is like the only article that I think is approaching this story the right way.
Really?
Yeah, it's very short, and it's pretty much like the title is The Sad Truth Behind London Riot. And I'm only going to read a couple paragraphs here.
All right.
As political and social protests grip the Middle East are growing in Europe and a riot exploded in North London this weekend, here's the sad truth expressed by a Londoner when asked by a television reporter, is rioting the correct way to express your discontent? Yes, said the young man, you wouldn't be talking to me now if we didn't riot, would you? The TV reporter from Britain's ITV had no response, so the young man pressed his advantage. 2 months ago, we marched to Scotland Yard, more than 2,000 of us, all blacks, and it was peaceful and calm, and you know what? Not a word in the press. Last night, a bit of rioting and looting, and look around you. All right, so basically, I think this angle, that this is the only article I've seen taken this very intelligent angle, right, is the press is blaming itself for rioting, right, by not covering the things that people actually care about. Right? The press is actually causing the people to be angry. I mean, they already don't have bread in circuses, but even when they didn't have bread in circuses, they still didn't riot. It's because their peaceful means didn't work. If the media is only going to pay attention to sensationalist things, that is encouraging attention-seeking people in society to do sensationalist things. If the media would pay attention and give screen time to things that were less sensational.
But here's the rub.
Their ratings may go down.
Not only would their ratings go down, Scott, but I don't think anyone would watch anymore.
Possibly, you are correct. But at the same time, if they paid attention to non-sensationalist, non-violent, non-crazy things, it would actually cause society to become less sensational. Like if you didn't pay attention, it's like the same thing. The policy we have with a guy running on the field at a baseball game. You don't get on TV. All the TV cameras cut away when you run on the baseball field. I know the soccer field, they do something different. They let the naked guy on TV. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to make something happen or no one's going to watch soccer.
But in the United States, if you run on the field of a professional, nationally, or even just state, locally televised, professional, or even like college
You're
sporting
lucky
event,
if a single frame of you even approaching appears on live TV.
You will not be on television, period. The cameras will cut away. Nobody will see you except the people at the stadium.
Now, granted, they're going apeshit.
But the people at the stadium will also be pissed that you're basically just delaying the game and being a jerk. Right?
I've never seen that. Every time I've seen this happen at a game.
I've only seen people cheer if the guy gets away. One time, a guy ran across the field, jumped up into the outfield, and got out.
Oh, man.
That they cheer for, right? But if you just run on the field and get tackled like a doofus, people aren't that pleased with you. I think we need that same policy basically for any morons. You can say dude ran on the field, but you can't show the dude who ran on the field, right? And it's like it's kind of tough though with rioting because it's like, well, we need to see the rioting, right? But by showing the rioting, you're causing riots.
But like you just said, if we don't show the rioting, they'll riot again.
Well, no, if we would have showed the non-rioting in the first place, they wouldn't have rioted.
But non-rioting, not difficult. How many non-riots are there in a given day?
Yeah, but I mean, 2,000 people doing a peaceful protest, I think, is worthy of
Scott,
news.
2,000 people in a major city is nothing. More people are like taking the elevator up to my part of my building.
Right, but I'm saying is that a 2,000, while not that big, in the old grand scheme, is a pretty significant protest. Most days, I mean, I saw an NBC union protest this morning I biked past outside 30 Rock, and it was like 10 union guys. That doesn't need to be on the fucking news.
Here's the other question.
2,000 people, I think, could get a news clip.
Riddle me this. What were those 2,000 people marching for?
It doesn't say in the article.
What were the rioters rioting for?
They're pissed off because they're poor.
All right. So we know they're pissed off because they're poor.
There's no jobs. And the police are abusing them.
So, what sort of nonviolent protest in a modern democracy could possibly make more jobs appear?
All the people... See, the thing is, people don't really... they're like children. Everyone's like children, right?
All right,
and
Kellis.
their heart. Right?
Yeah.
People, really, all people, even if you don't actually solve their problem, if you just make them believe, like really believe you're helping them and working on it, right? It's like when you go to the bullshit Randy doctor, right? They might be giving you some fake medicine, homeopathy, that doesn't actually cure your disease, but you like them better than the real doctor because the real doctor's like, here's some medicine, get the fuck out.
You know, I'm reading this
Even
book.
though the medicine works. But if you
I'm
go to the
reading a
fake
book.
doctor, the fake doctor won't help you cure your disease. You're going to still go home and die.
I'm reading a book right now set in kind of a pseudo-Byzantium, right?
Yep.
And the emperor just died.
But they make you believe they're helping you and they care.
So the Senate is, the
They
fake
appease.
Senate that doesn't do anything is convening to nominally decide who the next emperor will be. I'm making
But they
big
already
quote
know
marks.
who the emperor is going to be.
Oh, they don't yet. They're sure someone will tell them. But a mob forms and bursts into the Senate chamber, like just riotous mob, ready to go.
All right.
So the mob stops for a second because the chamber is so grandiose, and a senator stands up and says, "Yes, people of the city, we are going to choose your next emperor. We need your help. Tell us the people you think are worthy of being the next emperor." And the whole mob kind of diffuses into people shouting names. They write them all down dutifully. Everyone's happy. They all go home. They throw all the names away.
That's exactly right.
I don't think Egypt would even have happened had they just let the protest happen and fizzle out.
Well, I mean, it just act like you're paying, act like you care. Like, be like, oh, you're protesting. All right. And the thing is they put on like the obviously fake propaganda bullshit. It's like, no, actually just take the people in, talk to them seriously. Don't be like we're just talking to you for show. I'm just going to let you sit there, but you don't actually do anything. Just actually talk to the person. Actually make it seem like you're actually caring and considering
Scott,
them. And
you were asking politicians and city officials to act like politicians and city officials as they were intended to be.
Yes.
I don't think that's possible.
Why can't they? I'm not even asking for what I really should be asking for, which is actually do that, right? But to just act like it. They can't even act? Really? It's like, an acting job could quell the riot. Actually not acting and doing it sincerely would be even better. I would much rather have that. But you're telling me you can't even act and pretend, have faux sincerity?
So you want to know why? The spark of the protest was a young man who was shot by the police. And
Yep.
one of those whole things.
Yep.
But the media, the Fox News equivalents over there, and a lot of the rightish leaning media are talking about it this way, are selling the whole riot thing as being caused by urban youths rioting about some gangbanger who got shot.
Yeah, well, that's why the police, right, were always, so they're, being so brutal and inappropriate. I mean, the UK has a long history of that anyway, especially against youths, right? The police versus youths is like the biggest, I think social conflict they have over there, at least judging by the media that gets over to us. It's pretty much police versus youths and poor people in the UK is the
No,
never-ending
don't get me
battle.
wrong.
Even in like Hot Fuzz, it's like that whole town is like the hoodies, right? It's it's symbolizing that UK wide authority versus youth battle.
Yep, except really it's just like the whole thing is just feeding into whatever narrative is politically expedient.
Mm-hmm.
And sensationalism just happens to be a big part of that. Sensationalism and then fear of whatever's being sensationalized, followed by a paternal, we will stop that from happening, when in fact they're the ones who actually indirectly
Made
caused
it happen, yes.
Ah. So things of the day. When I was a kid, I had an African gray. My mom still has this African gray.
That's a parrot for those of you who don't know.
They are...
I only know because Rim talked about this a whole bunch. I
African
wouldn't
grays
have known.
Are probably the smartest of the birds, and they're
I don't know. I thought like most parrots, you imagine like the green parrot, right? It wouldn't.
That's an Amazon. They're actually kind of derpy compared to other parrots.
Right. So, but the African gray is gray.
Yes.
So the gray parrot is smarter than the stereotypical green one.
The gray parrot is the smartest. I've read real people who know about these things saying that an above average intelligence African gray can achieve the same level of self-awareness and communication as a 2 to 3 year old human child.
Oh, 2 to 3. Okay, so it can't learn the alphabet.
They kind of can.
They can't read.
They can't read, no.
But a kindergartner who's 5 can learn the alphabet, right?
Yeah, but like they can learn words and use them contextually.
What if you made it like Watch Sesame Street? Would that help?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Like they were like Dusty.
You can't
our
like give
African
it
gray,
books.
She learned all the different kinds of food she liked and had names for all of them. Some of them were the names we gave them, but things we had not named for her, she made up her own names.
So how did you know, though, that's what she was talking about?
It was pretty apparent. For example, one day she started saying cookie nut. Cookie nut. Because we'd given her cookies and nuts before. And she started saying cookie nut, cookie nut, cookie nut. We eventually figured out that what she wanted was one particular nut, the almond.
Uh-huh.
So when she'd ask for it, and if we gave her something else, she'd throw it to the ground and go, uh-oh.
I threw it on the ground. You can't trust the system.
Anyway, parrots are really smart, and this is a parrot who really does not want to be pooped on. This is obviously one of those cases where the people who own this parrot are constantly yelling at it for pooping on things. So it is decided to say those things back because that is obviously what people say most of the time. Like he thinks, don't poop on that is like, hello.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of now, I don't want to get a parrot because they're expensive or take care of it because it's a pain in the ass. And it might fly around the apartment and cause mayhem.
But a talking animal, you want to teach it to say funny shit?
No, I just want to see what happens if you have a parrot and when it's like from when it can you get one that's in an egg and it hatches?
You want to start a little past that.
Well, who takes care of it first?
The mom.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
I mean, it depends. There's I don't want to get into the breeding of
the point is I
parrots.
wanted to watch Sesame Street and see what it says.
I
Like,
should
if
show
it
you
grows
some
up, if
videos.
it grows up on Sesame Street,
Scott,
specifically.
Google around for, I forget the parrot's name now, but
Sesame Street parrot?
there's one particular African gray parrot who was exceptionally intelligent, and there are tons of videos of this parrot being surprisingly coherent
No, but
and
see,
chill.
it's not. I don't want to see the smartest parrot. I want to see specifically the Sesame Street parrot, right? That is pretty much lived with the Cookie Monster.
Well, we know Sesame Street is not suitable for children, so
I know. Yeah, and that's the thing. Maybe get two: one new Sesame Street, one old Sesame Street.
One
And Mr. Rogers is the control group. See what happens.
All right.
Oh, thing of the day, right?
Yeah.
So you remember, was it PAX East? I think it was the last PAX West a year ago. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was PAX West. Gabe and Mike and Jerry and also Scott Kurtz announced a new comic, as in they're going to keep doing Penny Arcade and something else.
Oh, yeah.
And that was called The Trenches. And basically, it's about game testing. And the difference between this and Penny Arcade is that, number one, there's a third person working on it. So it's 2 artists and, 3 writers. And also, it's going to be sequential, as in there's a story. It's not topical where, so you get to read it from the beginning like other webcomics. It's a serial story. It's called The Trenches. It's about game testing. And they stopped shit talking. It's every Tuesday and Thursday, and it's Thursday today, so the second comic strip is up today.
Oh, shit.
And it's pretty good. I added it to my webcomics queue.
Oh, man.
How could you not?
It's rare that I add a new webcomic to the queue.
But now, think about, Mike and Jerry are making 5 comics a week, though. I guess that's good. They're earning their, right? Because they're basically working 3 days.
Granted, a sequential comic that has a story, like you can chart it out, I feel like it's easier to keep the momentum going than every other day. All right, we need one joke that will carry an entire day's comic.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you think about it, it's like, the South Park syndrome. What are we going to do this episode? But if you do a 2-parter, well, now you knock 2 out of the park. Well, if you do a infinite parter, it just keeps going. You just look at the previous comic and you know what the next one's going to be. And you
What
look
has
at
the
that one, you
Fonz
know the
not
next one's
yet
gonna
jumped
be.
over?
Yeah, it's like you just, as long as you've mapped out a significant portion of it, you don't have to map it out to the end. You can just keep going and keep going and keep going. I'm not saying it's easy, but what you get is you don't have that problem that we have with Geeknights, which is what do we do the show on today, right? Your problems are all the specifics of what's the exact wording going to be, and then that stuff, as opposed to the general. You need a general idea. A blank slate every fucking day. It's a huge pain in the ass.
Of course, at the same time, with Penny Arcade, they just have to go to, whatever gaming blog they happen to look at and see, what just got talked about.
Listen to those fourth panels, the old podcasts and the PATV where they make comics. They have the same problems that we have in South Park.
Everyone has those problems.
They got crab peoples. They got everything.
Yep, and you know what everyone needs? Writers' retreats.
Yeah. South Park didn't have one this.
I know. So, briefly, in the meta moment, the book club book is The Ear, the Eye, the Arm. It is my book. The previous book club book, Isaac Asimov's Foundation.
Where's
will
that
be up.
episode, Rim?
It'll be up tonight. Yesterday, you were here. What was I doing? Playing games with you.
I told you to put it up.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
And everyone left
You
late.
said you did.
No,
You
I
said
didn't
you
say-
would.
I said I would put it up at some
And you
point.
didn't.
I didn't say when I'd put it up.
Well, you didn't yet.
I know, but I did not say when. I'll probably put it up tonight. There's no reason why I shouldn't put it up tonight. We'll have to record the other one. So I ordered the Ear, the Eye, the Arm a while ago. Still hasn't shipped from Amazon. I don't know what's
I ordered
up.
from Amazon. It shipped.
Mine didn't.
Good job.
The fuck?
It should probably might be there when I get home today.
We will be at the Penny Arcade Expo on Saturday at noon. We will be doing Discover the Forgotten Masters. On Saturday from 6 p.m. to, I believe, 8 p.m., we will be in the tabletop workshop area teaching people how to play Seven Wonders, Carcassonne, Spot It, and Inspectors.
When's our panel?
Noon on Saturday, like
So
I
everything
just
is
said.
Saturday.
Yes.
All right, so I declare Friday to be Day of Gaming. After that keynote and Q&A, non-stop gaming.
On Friday, I'm going to pause the gaming to eat dinner at Vaughn's.
Well, obviously.
And I'm also I might go to the concert. Because one, main event is in the fucking Paramount. And
I've had enough of PAX concerts.
No. I've seen many of the Saturday concerts. I have skipped more of the Friday concerts. I kind of want to go to the Friday concert.
What Friday concert do you want to see?
I don't know. Just
the only new group is Super Commuter, and actually, Super Commuter is pretty good. It's hip hop over 8-bit backbeats. I went to their website. I digged what they were doing, but I don't really need to skip hours of awesome gaming.
You seem to think that I'm going to go to the entire concert from the beginning. I'm going to do what we did at our first PAXs, which was walk into the concert a little late and leave the concert when I've gotten my fill.
I'm going to get my fill at the Joko Cruise a week from Friday.
Well, the Joko mini cruise.
Mini cruise, yes.
So if you want to hang out with me and Scott and
Joko
in a place,
On
I
a
guess you'll
boat.
see Joko too, on a boat
in
New York next Friday, if tickets aren't sold out, we will be there. And you know what? There's nothing to do on that boat but listen to Joko and hang out.
Hang out on a boat.
Play some Spotted on that boat.
Fucking mermaid.
Shit on Deborah's desk.
No, wrong song. What else?
That's it.
This board game night is this Friday.
Oh, yes. Tomorrow we will be at Think Coffee on Mercer Street for Nerd NYC Board Gaming, which has had a surprising number of
It's
Geeknights
getting a
listeners showing up.
much bigger turnout over time.
It's getting to the point to where I almost feel like we need to get all the Geeknights people and have a separate gaming night that's offset from the Nerd NYC.
Yeah. Also, I just want to remind you that
I had a sunflower seed in my throat.
Good. We are all over the internet on the Facebooks and Twitters and our official website and our forum and everything. So you should come and participate with us on the internets in every place that we are on the internets, because the internets work like that. And if you like us, you should like us on the internet.
And one last thing, we have put up 2 of our Penny Arcade Expo East 2011 panels on YouTube. You should probably watch them. You'll notice I put up that Enforcer shout-out where we talked about how great the Enforcers were. Notice how if you watch Game Mechanics and Mechanism Design, it starts, this video, with riotous applause. And then we introduce ourselves. I cheated. Those riotous applause were, in fact, for the Enforcer shout-out a moment before and not, in fact, for us coming up on stage.
Yeah, it's a nice
You see what I did there?
I see you. At least, but you pulled a Scott move in admitting what you did there. The rim move would usually to let the secret, technique and deception lie as it stands.
But how is it deception?
It's the Scott technique
Scott,
expose
Scott,
the deception.
Scott, here is a question. How is it deception to show the unedited fact of a situation? There's video which includes 20 minutes of us just setting stuff up on stage and ends with 10 minutes of us taking questions and cleaning up the room and everything. And I just picked an arbitrary point of that and showed it uninterrupted.
See, that's the rim move.
Where's the deception? Where's the lie?
That's the rim move right there.
How have I deceived by showing truth?
You have obviously not turned into Scott. And you've just proved it. So, I follow a lot of people on Twitters, and occasionally, people say things, and you see them, and you go, oh, I should check that out, and you forget to check that out.
Yeah, I made a thing that it scrapes my Twitter, the things coming at me and that I'm subscribed to, for links, and puts them in a feed that I can then consume.
Yeah.
And I even then forget to check on things.
But sometimes someone will re-mention something enough times that you won't forget it. It'll stick in your brain. Hey, marketers, that's the secret. Repetition. You knew that
head
already.
on, apply directly to the forehead.
Gabbo, Gabbo,
Gabbo.
So one thing that I kept seeing come up over and over again and mentioned by many different people I follow on Twitter, such as Neil Gaiman and Penn Jillette and Teller, who was involved in this thing, was Play Dead. And it just so happened Play Dead was an off-Broadway production made by Teller and also Todd Robbins and a bunch of other people that was in New York City. So it was like, hey, that sounds like a good thing to me. And, people who went to see it would tweet and be like, oh, man, that was so awesome. And so I'm like, I'm going to check this thing out. So, I told my mom about it and told a whole bunch of other people. And then, my mom was like, she wanted to see it because that's her kind of thing. I didn't know anything about it other than it was an off-Broadway show. Teller was involved and it was called Play Dead. And the logo had like a skull on it. I was like, ooh.
Well, notice now that I look at it, it's a skull coming out of the smoke of a broken light bulb, which is very important to the show.
It is. I think that's actually a more recent logo. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Regardless, I went with my family to see it because my mom really wanted to see it, and she says, "Hey, we're going to go see that thing," and it actually got extended a whole bunch, so we were able to go see it. It wasn't sold out. It was in a very tiny theater. You just walk up, buy some tickets, walk right in, sit wherever you like. It's all good. And I saw it, and I was very surprised. Well, I mean, I expected it to be good. But it was actually quite excellent. I enjoyed it very much.
Yep, it wasn't the greatest thing ever.
Well,
if I think of,
Book of Mormon is the greatest thing ever.
Stage shows I've seen. I've seen a lot of stage shows. I can tell by the pixels. But
yeah.
So Scott was like, "Hey, it was pretty good. You should see it." My mom liked it too. So I forgot. And then one day I look and it's gonna end. Like the run's gonna end like that weekend. And I'm like, "All right." And I bought tickets that morning, and Emily and I went to see it.
Yep.
And it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's, Book of Mormon is the greatest show there is.
Well, the thing is...
But this is still, it's like totally worth seeing.
I think the main reason I liked it is something very specific in the beginning. That, we sit in and there's this warning that the lights will go out completely. Like, it's gonna be dark. If you can't handle that shit, well, don't come in here. And, the lights go dark right away during the play, and the exit signs are still on. And I'm like, it's always like that. And I know everyone was thinking that. And then the guy on stage
they're in basically a completely pitch black room except for exit signs. It's the only thing there is to look at. Of course, everyone is looking at it, right? That is the magic the Teller brought to this show, right? Is that magician's knowledge of knowing where you're going to look at all times, what you're going to pay attention to, all that kind of stuff.
And then when the guy's like, "Oh, hold on a minute," then he turns off the exit signs. That's when I knew I did not expect that.
Yeah, I did not expect that either. But the fact that the exit signs actually turned off and stayed off, I was like, fuck yeah.
Yep.
But basically, in short, Play Dead is a haunted house where a haunted show, one-man show, mostly one man, and it actually sort of works on adults. It's like, even though right, that they're not actually ghosts coming through and possessing or whatever the fuck they're gonna do, or people getting killed, or, all the blood is fake, all that. And usually when you go to a cheesy haunted house like Frankenstein's Haunted Mansion, it's like, okay, guys, seriously, lol. Put your hands in the bowl of spaghetti. It's like, yeah, great. But this is basically like, it's fake, but it happens, and you're like, woo. And then you're like, oh, they just threw some rice at me. Okay, whatever, woo. Because it's constructed in such an awesome way that it totally works.
It was cool that it was part like history lesson, part stage show, like straight up magic, part haunted house.
Yep.
And I really like the history part. Like, I knew about Albert Fish.
Yeah.
I think anyone who gets bored at work eventually hits Albert Fish's Wikipedia page.
you got to be really bored to end up there.
It's pretty easy to get there because a lot of pages end up going to serial killer, and from there, it's a short step to Albert Fish.
Wow, what are you reading on Wikipedia?
Apparently, Albert Fish and serial killers.
Yeah, I guess so.
But And then, like, I knew about him, but I didn't know about all those mediums. I really like the sexy medium.
Yeah, right.
That was kind of funny, actually.
But basically, so I don't want to get like spoil the show, right?
Especially because, as we just learned, it's getting a revival already, like a second run.
Well, that's another thing I was gonna say, right? So you might be like, "Why are we telling me about this show? I can't see." Well, even though the show ended, if you go to the official website, it says there's not much information, but it says "Rising for Halloween. Performances start October 7th. Stay connected with Facebook and Twitter. Join our newsletter." So it is very likely that this will appear again, and you will be able to see it depending on your geographic location.
It's got a healthy dose of sideshow because Todd Robbins, he eats a light bulb on stage.
He's really eating the light bulb.
Yeah, and it's fun. I guess
That's his thing.
I realized that because we listened to Penn Radio for so long, I think we know it surprises me how much I know about the stagecraft of like sideshows and things.
Well, yeah, that's that's what
But
happens.
I mean, when the average person doesn't, like the people in the audience walking around like, no, here, check it out. He's like handing people the broken glass. They can't figure it out. They're like, oh, it's got to be a trick. I can't. He's not just eating a light bulb. Who would do that?
He's eating the light bulb. It's like,
It's not that hard to eat a light bulb.
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it either.
But that guy can do it.
It's doable.
It is indeed. Anyway, so the structure of the show, I don't want to actually go into any specific things that might, ruin the show, because it is, I do often say when it comes to spoilers, like, look, if something depends only on the element of surprise and thus it can be completely spoiled just by knowing information, how good is that thing really?
But I mean, a haunted house boo show.
But this isn't a matter of spoiling in terms of surprise, like, oh, the surprises won't work. This is a matter of, behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz situation,
Well, here,
which is a different sort of spoiler.
Like, here's an example of something I can spoil what happens, but yet it won't actually ruin the event. So when the lights are totally off in the beginning, he just starts talking about how in the darkness people can do whatever the fuck they want and you don't know who did it. And pretty much he knew, and it's true that this will always happen. People in the audience start fucking with each other.
Yeah, that's intentional.
Yeah, like so some stranger just like poked me in the back of the head.
It is completely pitch black. You can see nothing. It is black, not a photon in the room. And
None more black.
They make you turn off every light-emitting device that you might bring with you, be it, glowy wristwatch or cell phone. So there is nothing. You cannot see a thing without some sort of light source.
But it's interesting how little prompting it takes to get people to basically just start fucking with strangers in the dark.
Yeah. Well, you're probably most likely to fuck with the people you know.
No, it's the guy behind me just like grabbed my hair like, woo!
He probably was looking at your hair the whole time and was like, he was like, I gotta touch that hair.
The show, it's such good stagecraft. Like, I don't want to spoil the thing, but Scott the Crow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I looked at him, I'm like, wait a minute.
But basically, the structure of the show is you have this one guy, Todd Robbins, and he's sort of like your host for the evening. And he basically presents to you these dead people that he has in these boxes. And he tells a story about each dead person. And then the stories sort of unfold into things that happen.
Yep, and
right?
some of them are like, oh, here's a history lesson about sideshows. Oh, I love how he does two different mediums and how the one who is sexy is portrayed kind of like this funny, kind of cool thing. Like, you can see, like, obviously these were just a bunch of people in Boston looking for an excuse to have some sexy time.
Yep.
And yet the other medium,
The fat, bitchy Italian one.
yeah, that he portrays accurately
As an evil bitch.
as a horrible, evil bitch, even though she didn't murder anyone compared to Albert Fish, who murdered a whole bunch
I would
of
definitely
people.
say Albert Fish is worse. Not to say that the fat Italian lady wasn't.
But notice how he doesn't call Albert Fish evil. He calls him lots of things and goes into the horrible things he did, but he reserves that word for the other lady.
Yeah. Well, I think as Albert Fish most likely wasn't,
He wasn't evil, he was
consciously-
crazy.
Yeah, he wasn't consciously malicious, right? He wasn't on purpose hurting people. I mean, he was on purpose hurting people because he was nuts, like, he couldn't control it, not because he was trying to actively scam people, consciously. There's a difference, right? Anyway. So, what else did you say about the show?
Well, I mean, it just kind of goes from there, and it's like I said, it's not the greatest stage show. Don't buy the expensive tickets.
Yeah, I don't think. Is there a difference between the expensive ticket?
You
and
sit
then-
closer.
I don't think
That's it.
You don't need to sit closer. The place that it was in, at least before, I don't know if it'll be in a different place in the future.
No, they do involve the audience, and
Quite a bit. My brother went on stage.
Really? Which one was he?
He did the Ouija board.
No.
Not that exciting.
The thing is, the Ouija board, I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. But then the table, I wasn't really sure how they did it.
I could tell you how they did it.
Nah. I really like the contrast. I think we talked about this when we mentioned the show briefly, where he acts like he's gonna murder the rat and the audience flips out, and then he totally fucking murders the person and no one cares. They're laughing like, ha, you killed that guy.
Yeah, it's full of that dark humor kind of joke, right? It's that weird, it's like humor plus horror at the same time, plus thrills and chills, and also, illusion, all mixed into one, thing together.
There is also some sexy time.
Yeah, it's like this combination of many things boiled into a pot.
I love his presentation too. Todd Robbins is just
He's really
great
good
at that.
Yeah. High
Well, because he
skills.
plays the white suited gentleman.
Yep. And then he just before he wipes blood all over
all over.
It's good times.
In general, I don't know. People, any of you out there, listeners who live in a city of any size. I mean, even Beacon had a pretty thriving theater community.
Yeah, it's like even if you're in some middle of nowhere, right? There's always gonna be some tiny community theater that puts something on.
In fact, remember we went
even
up
if
and
it's
saw
just like a Shakespeare.
our good friend Kate in the front row crew was in a play up in Albany. We went to see it. And
I didn't go see it.
Oh, you didn't. Everyone else did. It was
Yeah.
pretty damn great.
Yeah. We saw like RIT players at RIT.
Oh yeah, they did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
They did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
My high school did pretty good plays.
Mine did.
What did they do? What's the one where you shuffle off to Buffalo? That's the one they did. I forget what that's called. With the boat?
Shuffle Off to Buffalo?
That's the song. Oh, what the fuck is that?
Our school, I mean, we did
42nd Street? I think that's what it is.
We did Chicago, but I didn't bother with it. And we did Damn Yankees,
Uh-huh.
which was, I kind of like Damn Yankees as a kind of dopey, old style
Yes,
musical.
it's 42nd Street is the one with Shuffle Off to Buffalo.
I've never seen 42nd Street.
It's okay.
Yeah.
My high school did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
It's basically like if the high school had upgraded like 2 steps, it would have basically been a Broadway show that had a low budget.
But go to local theaters. It's so cheap. It's like $5 in some towns to see a live play. And you know what? Even the crappiest live play, unless it's a middle school, is pretty good.
Yeah, because I mean, the people who do these things, people who really care about it and really try, and it's very rare that it's going to be painfully bad. And the thing is, the fact that some of the worst shows you can see are usually like Spider-Man, right? It's a big, big production that just happens to suck that someone invested a lot in. The local community is probably doing some tried and trusted, play that is good. That's very old and in the public domain or something like that.
Yeah, or especially things that are
like
really
a
good.
Shakespeare or something.
But you probably haven't seen or read. Like, I went to see with Emily a few years ago, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, just in the city off Broadway.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, of course it's great.
Yeah, well, it's a great play anyway.
That's what I'm saying. You
In
can
general,
I'm sure.
I've always been a huge fan of one-room acts, like one-room plays.
Oh, yeah, you can go see a Glass Menagerie.
Yep,
or
Death of a
I
Salesman.
think Death of a Salesman has 2 rooms because there's an outside the house.
Yeah, technically.
I don't know, but
Well,
yeah,
the way
it's
I've
mostly
always-
one room.
The thing is, the way I've always seen it done is the outside is in a
through
set.
the window?
Yes, through a screen.
I've seen through the window trick before.
Noise is Off is interesting that it's a one-room play but the movie shows you the front, where the audience can see, but then it also shows you the back where the audience can't see. But the play, Yo Dog is a one room. Oh man, Glass Menagerie. I suddenly want to go see a play, like right now.
Go see the Book of Mormon.
Yeah,
I saw it.
Yeah.
I'd go see it again if I could.
Yeah, there are tickets free in February.
Free?
As in, you can buy them.
Oh, yeah, you should do that.
I should.
Right now.
I probably will.
Otherwise, you're probably not going to see the original cast, though.
I don't care.
Who knows at this point?
I've learned in my life.
Actually, February's getting pretty close, and I'm pretty sure the original cast is still there.
Yeah, but like Les Miserables had like a million different casts. It doesn't matter for some plays because if a play is that big, they're gonna get people who are good enough to where you won't notice.
I'm sure. They're already gonna do like Book of Mormon in London.
Well, Scott,
and all
like
these other
Springtime for
places.
Hitler, Matthew Broderick was off of that for a long time, and it was still super good.
Right, but the point is, like, having seen the Book of Mormon, it's like I just couldn't imagine it with someone else, right? Because I saw the original one.
Scott, I had that problem. I saw Les Mis with like the international touring cast where they sounded like it was the CD, like it was perfect.
Yep.
And then I saw it years later, kind of like a revival thing, and it was a totally different cast. And the only time it stood out like that it was different, like where I was like, was there was one song in the near the beginning where like the cadence was a little different, but otherwise it was great. It was fine.
Actually, you're right, because I heard the Les Mis CD before ever seeing it. Actually, dual cassette tape.
Oh shit, son.
Shit, and I did go to see it on Broadway, right? And
See, I saw the because interestingly for shows like that, you sometimes get a better performance outside of New York just because the best cast does the world tour of like one weekend in every city.
Well, sometimes not. But it's like I did see it on Broadway, and it was definitely not any of the original people. But I didn't notice a fucking difference.
Yeah,
I must have been in high school.
Oh, the only other
middle
difference I
school-ish
noticed
age.
is when they're doing the song with Cassette, the actor started to say Colette and corrected himself, but
I make
obviously
that mistake.
Yeah, but it was obviously on purpose because it was played up for a laugh and there were canned like responses.
Plus, the other thing is, right, when I went to see it, even though it was not the original cast, there's always, even if it's not the original cast, there's always going to be someone who brings something special, right? When I saw it, the master of the house was the best. He was like this unbelievably like he was born to be the master of the house.
But at the same time,
people applauded for him more than anyone fucking else. It was just like, oh my God, that guy was so great.
I've actually seen Les Miserables 3 times. One time I got to go for free, like shortly after I'd seen it, so I just went again.
Whoa.
Yeah, because high school I went to a million fucking musicals and like the
But in Detroit, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they were all like the touring musicals coming into like the Masonic Temple
Right,
or whatever.
Exactly.
And all 3 times, 2 different masters of the house got the most applause every time. Same deal. I think it's just that role is
but
great.
the guy was just so good at it, though. It can't be easy to do. I
Come
couldn't
on.
do it.
Isn't it worth me spit?
No, but I mean, he was funnier. You know, like ours is the song, but the guy has actual lines outside of the song.
People always seem to. A lot of people I've met
That are
who
hysterical.
don't go to see musicals.
And his physical comedy, he was almost Kramer level.
Oh man,
He had that same build as Kramer.
I have met
with
multiple
the
people in my
tall-
life, Scott,
and the costume with the funny shoes.
who didn't realize there were acting scenes between the musical parts
What?
of musicals.
Okay, listen, it's a musical. It's not an opera. Operas are singing 100%. Musicals, they do things between the singing.
there's a story.
It's a play and then a song, and then a play and then a song, and a play. That's a musical.
Yep.
If it was just singing the whole time, it would be called an opera. That's how it is. I'm
Or
not even
perhaps,
a theater person. I know this
Perhaps
shit.
a review.
Well, a review, I don't think has a story, right?
No, they're
It's
basically
just a bunch of unrelated
a
songs
review
or
usually,
loosely related
it's like
songs.
you'll get some sort of like Appalachian melodies or
It's
something.
like,
and-
here's 20 song and dance numbers that are loosely related in an order.
Yep.
Let's
or
do them.
Go see a cabaret.
Well, or you can go see Cabaret,
Yeah,
period.
which is but it's not the same as a cabaret.
Actually, if you want to see Cabaret, the movie is actually fantastic.
It is. Actually, a lot of those, like Chicago, was a pretty good movie too.
Pretty good. Yeah, actually, Chicago's still playing, like right across the street from my work, and it's kind of weird because I'm like, I could go see it anytime I wanted, basically, but it's like all they really do with Chicago is they keep cycling out famous people. It's like the sign outside is always like, this is the famous person who's currently playing the main girl in Chicago.
Well,
Come see it, and it's always they change it like every few months, and it's like, guess some out-of-work Hollywood person needs something to do before their next movie deal, so they
I
go
would
and do
wager-
Chicago, and that lets them bring in some extra ticket sales because the fans of that person come in.
I
for
would
those
wager
months.
what's going on there is that I think a lot of people have never seen a musical. They don't really know what a musical like. They don't really know what they're like.
Yep.
So, famous person in Chicago is just to trick some tourist into coming and seeing a musical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think that's it.
Anyway, but that seems to be the way that they roll. Every show seems to roll differently. There's the shows like Rock of Ages or the Beatles show. I think the Beatles show closed or is closing.
I
I'm not
haven't
sure.
seen Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat was like forever, and I don't see it anymore.
No, but but shows like that is what they do is they use music people are already familiar with. So it's like going to see a concert. It's like we're going to sing a bunch of 80s rock tunes
Yep.
that you already know, so it won't be unfamiliar or weird to you.
That Beatles one, I'm not feeling that.
No. But, of course, the thing is those things don't actually win. The only one of those I see around that's actually still kicking is Mamma Mia, which is all the ABBA songs. And then The Lion King, does that really count in that category? Kind of. right?
Lion King is weird.
I think I don't know if Mary Poppins is still over there. I think it might be.
It comes and goes, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't paid that. I work at Broadway.com. I haven't paid that much attention.
Yep. There's the other, like, to this day, a special place in my heart exists for Moulin Rouge because it's like a musical that was designed to be a movie. Like, it couldn't be performed on a stage.
The point is, Book of Mormon is the best I've ever seen, and also you should go see Play Dead if it comes back, and it looks like it's gonna.
You know what? Play Dead is a great thing to bring a significant other to if you're a young punk kid.
Especially if they are easily timid.
Yes. It is also
and
great
you're not.
to bring your parents to.
Yeah, if your parents are cool.
Even if they're not cool, it's hard to not chuckle at what's going on.
Also, Cool Grandpa. Cool Grandpa would love it.
Oh, Cool Grandpa was the one who will take the kid to it without the mom knowing.
I could see totally Cool Grandpa and grandson going to this. Totally awesome.
Yep, grandson's like, don't tell your mom.
Yeah.
Grandpa, not grandson.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Give him the old wink. Oh, the Perry Bible Fellowship comic with the porn behind the stove.
Oh, my God.
That's what it is.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.